Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor and his friends give you sports betting tips. I'm your host, Professor Sides, and I have built a set of mathematical models named Sideline to predict various sports outcomes. You'll hear more about the models in the course of this episode to cover 4 Major League Baseball games scheduled to be played on Monday, May 8th, 2023. If you're new here, check out the webpage on the banner. It's www.pickswiththeprofessor.com/new for some explanations and community rules. Also, if you're interested in projections and picks for every single game, sign up on Dub Club. That link's in the show description. But even if you're not there, still thrilled to have you here. Remember that sports are unpredictable, so the discussion on this show projects a typical game, does not try to forecast it to a T, as it'd be a foolish and impossible goal. We're recording this on Sunday. Sunday had 4 teams scored double-digit runs. I think someone scored like 18 and someone scored like 17 or something crazy like that. And these things, again, I try to come up with a different example every other time we come up here. Weird things happen in baseball. It's about the long term. It's about betting at least 3 or 4 games, hopefully 6 or 7, maybe even more if you like it. But using the large sample size to our advantage, using a strong mathematical model. I believe I've built one. You can use other ones as well, but that's the concept that's going to make you a successful baseball bettor, is not getting distracted on these weird one-off results that are not predictable, but thinking about how the long term plays out. In other words, please understand that good or bad variance will occur. So as much as I'd like to say it'll be profitable each and every day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Jake, on top of all those crazy run scoring games, we had 2 relatively deep extra inning games with the we shouldn't call it a ghost runner, right? But with the freebie runner, the fake runner, or the whatever you want to. It's not a ghost runner, right? Because ghost runners, like, we don't have enough guys, so we put. But it's like the opposite of that. What's the opposite of a ghost? A human? A human runner? with that, we tend to see extra inning games end after usually 10, maybe 11. But I think on Sunday, your Braves played in a 12 inning game. You pretty deep, and then the Marlins clubs played like what seemed like 100 innings, because extra innings don't last very long, and that game just kept going. We're talking about weird baseball results all the time, right? And Sunday definitely provided its fair share of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, Sandy's got to be out of his mind mad. It throws a beautiful game, and then that happens.
And I was surprised that he was out there in the 9th. His pitch count was up to like 120, and I don't know. Puck has been pretty good this season. He gave up some runs on Saturday, but that was kind of error related and some other things like that. So, that's going to be frustrating for him. Although, to be fair, I think he's done that a few times now with this Marlins team. Pitched really well and then not gotten the decision. But and then even just speaking about your Braves specifically too, Friday night's game was pretty weird, right? With just like nothing happening, close game, tight game, and then all of a sudden Orioles just are like, we're going to score 7 runs, 8 runs, or whatever in 1 inning. I mean, what in the world was that about?
I don't know. I mean, the Braves bullpen at times just disappears, forgets how to pitch, and then, even the first game they won, the Saturday, or maybe that was today. I'm getting confused. But the tying run was the bounce off the catcher's leg that put them 1-1, and then they end up winning that game. You don't deserve to win off that. The Orioles deserved a lot better than what they got in Atlanta.
The Orioles are great. They've been so good to us backing them. I cannot say enough good things about them. And I believe both the games they lost to the Braves were by 1 run. So if you took them on the run line, you had all 3 wins. But it's a great thing. The last thing here we'll talk about real quick, as a quick discussion before we talk about the games, is a reminder that bullpens are very volatile. I believe the Braves entering today came in with about the 15th best ERA. ERA is a good predictor of what tells you what's going to happen. It's not the best predictor of what will happen. The Angels came in with like the 3rd best bullpen ERA, and they gave up about 1,000 runs between Saturday's late night and on Sunday. The Braves bullpen's still really good, but yeah, we've talked about it a lot. Their bullpen has really struggled. The hope is that getting Iglesias back helps. I'm not sure how much it matters with the slotting, as much as adding a good arm always helps, right? But they still got really good pieces. It's just figuring it out, and every season you're gonna have ups and downs and bumps in the road. But the Braves bullpen has definitely had that bump in the road. It's one of the more surprising things, because seeing them in the middle of the pack statistically, I still think they might be the best bullpen in baseball. They just haven't shown it yet.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking of the Angels bullpen, what did Tucker Davidson do to make his manager mad? To just leave him out there to just demolished. He couldn't do anything, and then the Rangers were just beating him up, and the manager was like,
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, the Angels, their offense is looking pretty good. I think their offense is potentially top 5, and I'm saying that this year. Last year they started off hot, and I was like, no, it's a mirage. They're a league average offense because it was just 3 guys. This year they added some depth. I believe Brandon Drury, someone else they brought in. Good enough offense, a lot of depth now, but the pitching still the problem with the Angels, and that's where if they can get that pitching squared away, getting some extra starters, a guy like Jose Suarez, we faded him today, got a B grade score with the Rangers. Jose Suarez looks terrible, and of course those relievers have pitched way over their head, but they aren't very good on the whole. It's the AL West, I think, is a real interesting situation with the A's just like literally giving up, the Mariners really underperforming, the Angels with the pitching issues, the Rangers kind of ups and downs, and of course DeGrom's already hurt, and the Astros still the best team of the division, but just have not played very well. Partially the injuries. I mean, that the AL
by default.
Yeah, by default, yeah. It's like the anti-AL East where all the AL East teams are doing really well and like all of them want to win it. In the AL West, you're like, does anybody really want to win that division? Or are they all just like, nah, we're just past this year. Early season baseball is fun. Early season baseball statistics are fun. Just a quick reminder, people, the whole reason we built the model is to help us figure out where there's value in the numbers, where we don't want to get misled by the numbers. We'll kind of be talking about that over the summer about here's this number, here's this metric. I don't think it means anything. Here's this metric, here's the number. I think it does mean something. And that's what we got to try to do here because there's a lot of numbers running around out there in baseball and a lot of them don't mean something. A lot of them do. And that's what we're trying to do here is help us figure out what's noise and what is actual signal. And that's hopefully what we can provide for you here. 4 games to talk about today on Monday. No day games. Jake, we're always sad about no day games, but here it is. Yeah. There's really no words. It's just, yeah. But before we get to the slate, some reminders. Please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. Also, if you aren't yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free. And if you turn on notifications, you won't miss any of the college basketball, MLB, or college football content that this channel provides. A grade Monday Night Plays return 4 units. B grades return 3. C grades return 2. You'll see those on the screen that I'm risking more on favorites than dogs, but not in a flat betting style. I like this way. It helps us. It allows us to take up some bigger favorites and bigger dogs without getting quite so exposed on some of the risk reward proposition. So it's the way I like it. But with the scaling, with the picks, with everything, take what you like and leave the rest. 6:10 p.m. Eastern. Let's kick it off with the Tigers and the Guardians. Let's take a big dog here with the Tigers at plus 170. Tanner Bibby will get the ball for the Guardians against Joey Wentz for the Tigers. Joey Wentz, not good. And yet we're back in the Tigers anyway. I think there's going to be a lot of runs in this game. I don't really know what's going to happen. I'm pretty sure I said the exact same thing about the Tigers playing game last week, except I said I don't think there are going to be very many runs. I don't know what's going to happen. I think there's going to be a lot of runs. I don't know what's going to happen. Just take the dog here, plus 170. Not a great value proposition. Model says it should be Guardians minus 172. So if this price goes up another nickel, you're getting a little bit more excited about it. If you get plus 180, typically what happens 7-8 times out of 10 is more money comes in on the favorite as the game gets closer. So this is what I would hold back on and wait because you're probably getting a better price as you get closer to first pitch. I can't imagine a lot of people backing this Tigers team, but they've been a little frisky. The Guardians offensively doesn't project very well against lefties. They do have a great bullpen, and Tanner Bibby, of course, a young prospect. If he struggles, that bullpen should be able to help him out. Joey Wentz, not very good, but really it's about wind blowing out, and I think we can get over this total of 8 as the model projects 8.6. So official total play for me on this over 8. I think there's more runs, and I think that makes a little bit extra variability. So a little bit of value here on the Tigers, and just I don't really know what's going to happen because Tanner Bibby's only had, I believe, 2 starts now in the big leagues. And this Tiger team, honestly, they've been okay. They've been better than we thought they'd be, better than they were last year, I guess, because last year was such a disappointment. And again, I just don't like this Guardians team against a lefty. So if Joey Wentz is ever going to have success, it's going to be against a team like the Guardians. Otherwise, though, Wentz is not really much to write home about. There's a chance of rain on this one, so keep that in the back of your mind. Might want to play a first 5 over on this one because the rain's looking like it's going to pick up and be more likely as the night goes on. So maybe a first 5 over just in case you don't get the full 9. Jake, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I like backing the Tigers here. I don't trust the Guardians to do what they need to do. Also, Wentz has got this weird pattern going on with his starts this year. He gives up 5, dominates. Gives up 5, dominates. Last time with the Mets, he gave up 5. So
time to dominate.
Yeah, time to be out there. I think it's good. I still think the over's a better play because he's not good pitcher.
He's not.
That's just a weird pattern that's happened. We don't know about Tanner Bibby, but the Tigers seem to be playing better. I mean, it's part of than what we expected. I don't know. I expected them to look a lot like the A's, and they're not. So
they were last year, and it was so surprising back at the end of, gosh, I don't even know what year we're in, right? At the end of 2021, they finished the season so strong. 2022, we thought they were going to be better, and then they just completely crapped the bed. And then this year, they're 15-17 entering today. I guess they lost. It's 15-18, which isn't great, but it's better than they were last year. It's hovering around 500, and they're at least competent, which is more than we could say about that team last year for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think there will be tons of runs, and tons of runs could be a lot of crazy things happen here. So I think getting plus 170 is decent enough to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you mentioned it. Joey Wynn's not great. Mud has about a 120, 100's average. So yeah, not a very good pitcher. But again, like you talk about, sometimes he looks good, and this Guardians left-handed heavy offense would be the type of team that he should pitch better against. Temperature-wise, we're going to be in the 50s, so it's not like the ball's going to be flying out. So that should help him a little bit. Again, wind blowing out. Really, I just think there should be a lot of runs in this one, mainly because you don't really expect first game of a series, with a young pitcher and a guy like Joey Wynn, who we don't think is very good. You don't really expect the pitchers duel out of that one, right? So it's one of those, like, 9's a really common outcome in sports. This game ought to be able to get to 9. Again, I think it's mispriced. I think it should be 8.5. But again, a chance that the game doesn't go full, so might look first 5 as well. 7:05 p.m. Eastern, A's at the Yankees. Going to flip the other direction, take a big favorite in the Yankees minus 210. Also a C grade. Model says it should be Yankees minus 198. So not a huge value proposition here. And the Yankees offense just lost without, who's the guy again? What's his name? Is he any good? They have the outfielder. Lawyer. Yeah, big tall dude. Yeah. Without him, the Yankees offense kind of lost. Here's the thing, though, is they are pretty right-handed heavy, even without Judge in the lineup. And, of course, facing a lefty in J.P. Sears, that brings their offensive projection closer to league average. And the A's are just terrible. They are going to win a few games, obviously, here and there. But I just don't think with Nestor Cortez that this is priced where it should be. Cortez has struggled this year, but I still think we're still at the point of the season where it's 6 games, and those 6 games, I kind of mentioned this last week, right? They matter, and they matter more than any 6 games do last year. But the fact that he had 30 games or whatever last year, that matters more than the 6 this year. We're going to kind of put them all together, weight them all. Cortez is still an above average pitcher. JP Sears, kind of in the same boat, right? Really struggled this year. Both of these guys have ERAs around 5. The advanced metrics say it's pretty spot on for both of them. I think Sears is a better pitcher than he has shown as well, but Cortez still the better pitcher. And of course, this A's bullpen is terrible. So even if this is, what I kind of expect to be more of a 2-2 game in the 4th, 5th, 6th inning, whatever, the Yankees ought to be able to score against this A's terrible bullpen. Model projects 9.1 runs, so we're going to go over 8 or 8.5, depending on which number you've got. Like the over in this one, we've got 70 degrees to start. So again, not really a warm day, but warmer than some of the places around the country, finishing off around 60 degrees. But the wind will be blowing out to right center field at over 10 miles an hour to start and closing in the 5 to 10 mile an hour range. So that wind ought to help us out. It's not really a chilly night. And again, both these pitchers have struggled this year. So if either one of them continues to struggle, that should help the over. If both struggle, definitely have the over. And then when they're done, again, I trust this Yankees bullpen much more than I trust the A's bullpen. So going to lay some lumber here with the Yankees at minus 210. C grade value. Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, I can't not back the Yankees here because the A's are just so bad. And, I mean, Sears might not be as terrible, but as he's shown so far, but that bullpen and that there's not a lot on that team talent-wise that impresses. I'm going to just back the Yankees pretty heavy here. I just don't see – I think Nestor Cortez can get it right faster than J.P. Sears because – part of that's going to be the environment he's around, right? It can't be fun to be in that clubhouse this year. It can't, you can't
all the injuries. I mean, man, yeah.
It's Mm. I'm going to be heavy on the Yankees even without Judge. I think getting some of the other pieces back, like Bader, I think he'll help improve that offense. He definitely helps improve the defense. Very good player. I just like the Yankees a lot here.
Sounds like Judge is on track to return Tuesday, so it wouldn't be for this game, maybe for the next one. So it's obviously going to be a huge difference maker to add one of the better hitters in baseball, hands down. Interesting note: the A's, we faded them 25 times this season to the tune of a 17% ROI. We've backed them 9 times, gone 1-8. So I mean, we've tried to back the A's at times, and it has not worked. We aren't quite yet. I think we're getting there. We're getting closer to the point where the sports books are valuing the A's appropriately, and we are going to be backing them more. It's just apparently we're not quite there yet. It's just such a bad team. The problem is, of course, by the time we get to that point where the books are valuing the A's appropriately, then they'll trade off anybody who's done anything. A guy like Rooker, obviously, was a no-name claim for them. They'll probably trade him away. Then the A's will get even worse. So it's just, sad thing if you're in Oakland right now. Just sad things all around. Nothing else to say, really. 7:40 p.m. Eastern, White Sox at the Royals. Back to White Sox here. C-grade pick -135. Sideline says it should be White Sox -129. And this is one that, even though it's a C-grade pick, I absolutely want this part of my portfolio. Why? Because all about the pitching matchup, Dylan Cease and Zach Greinke. Both of these teams have been sketchy and or questionable and or terrible and or insert negative words. It's not a bad baseball here on Monday, but we can benefit because while both teams have struggled a lot, the White Sox offense still competent. Dylan Cease, I still think is a good pitcher. He hasn't looked great this year, but I still think he's a much better pitcher than Zach Greinke. And that's the bottom line, is that Greinke, I just don't have any hope of getting better than this. He's fallen well below league average, and I think that's about where he's going to stay, is well below league average. While Cease has struggled, I still think there's hope for him. And that means -135 is not a great value investment necessarily, not one I want to put all my chips towards, but something that I think is worth a small investment here, just because you're not going to get backing Dylan Cease against a team as bad as the Royals at a price like this probably ever again, so you might as well take advantage of it. Otherwise, we're about 80 degrees to start, 70 degrees to close. Wind will be blowing in. Total in this one, 8.5 or 9, and the projection's 8.6, so pretty well priced total. Jake, you like the White Sox in this one too, correct?
Yeah, I love the White Sox here. I don't think Greinke's got it anymore. I think he needs to make the shift to somebody's bullpen, maybe a contender or something. I think that would, because I just don't think he's got the starter stuff anymore. I think, he's still a decent pitcher, but it's nobody that I would back ever. I think his name carries a little bit more weight. I think this is a great opportunity to back Cease because, like you said, I don't think we're going to get this kind of price with Cease against a bad team many more times this year. So I'm going to take the White Sox. The White Sox have the offensive talent with Anderson and Roberts and all them. So I think they've got a lot more chances to pull this off than what the Royals do. I think it's a smart play to have this one in your portfolio. Maybe not everywhere, but it's a smart one to put in there.
Yeah, and it's crazy because we're coming off of a Sunday where we actually had an A-grade pick on the White Sox, and they won handily, and the A-plus play of the day on the Royals, and they won for it. That's why I'm sporting the Royals jersey here. So both of these teams, I feel like both these teams winning on the same day but might be the first time it's happened all season. That's probably not true, but it's not that far from the truth, probably, with how little wins both these teams have. And somehow they both won on Sunday as A-grade plays, but it's just a different story with the Royals playing the A's versus playing the White Sox. The A's are just the saddest team in baseball, and the Royals aren't that far ahead of them. And now we're back to, like you said, just a very mediocre Zach Greinke. Even the last couple of years in Houston, he was relegated for the most part to being a guy who they really only wanted him to go through the lineup twice. They didn't think he had the stuff to go through that third time. He just wasn't good enough, and that was a few years ago. And now it's just age is getting worse. I'm not sure if what his career plans are at this point. Great career, was incredible at the top of his game, but at this point, Dylan Cease, like you said, just a much better pitcher. And I'm just surprised that we can get -135. I figured, looking at this, we'd have to back the Royals because I figured how bad the Royals are. The game's, a road game or whatever, for the White Sox, but I just figured they'd be way overpriced. I figured it'd be Cease -160, and it'd be like, there's no way I can get behind that. So the fact that it's not like terrible value is pretty surprising to me personally. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it caught me off guard when I saw the White Sox pop up. I was like, ooh, that's nice.
Yeah, exactly. All right, to the late game here, 9:40 p.m. Eastern. Rangers, the Mariners. Going to grab the Mariners at -155. B grade play. Mariners with a nice little series win over the Astros. Of course, that was at home, but I mean, like we talked about at the start with the AL West, how disappointing it is. You got to start somewhere. So it was a great start for the Mariners there to hopefully getting their ship righted. Logan Gilbert versus John Gray. Gray has struggled this year, but the fact that he has a 4.40 ERA isn't my concern. My concern is that the underlying metrics suggest his ERA should be at 6, and that's the bigger problem and why he's fallen down to slightly below league average according to Sideline, which is really surprising. A guy that I really thought would hang on to an above average rating for the whole season. Logan Gilbert 4 ERA, but the advanced metrics say it should be down to close to 3. It's a massive starting pitcher mismatch here. I don't think people realize that. I think that's why there's value on the Mariners. I think people think these two pitchers are closer than they are. I don't think so. I think Gilbert's the much better pitcher. The Mariners, of course, have the much better bullpen. Offensively, it's probably about a wash, but the game's in Seattle. The Mariners will have a pitching edge basically from innings 1 through however long they decide to play. So -155, B grade pick. Sideline says it should be Seattle about right at -155. So it's basically a slightly positive anything expected value, break even type expected value play. But I just think there's a huge mismatch here with the starting pitcher. And that's why I like playing the Mariners here at this sort of price. If it does get down to -140, that's A grade material. I don't think it gets there, unfortunately. I think we're going to be happy with a B grade and just move on with life, as I'd be shocked if you can get anything better than -150 on this one. Projecting to the roof to be closed with a total of 7.3 according to the model. I'm seeing 7.5 and 8. So under 8, a pretty solid look here as well. Or if you wanted to take the Rangers team total under and say first game of a road trip against Logan Gilbert and that really good Mariners bullpen, might be hard for them to score too many runs. Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm with you with the starting pitchers. I think the offense is a wash. I think Gilbert is leaps and bounds better than Gray is right now, and that's why I'm super excited when I saw this line. I jumped on it already. I think it is just a huge mismatch there, especially with being in Seattle. I know the Rangers just beat the Angels and put up some crooked numbers up there. I don't think they're going to do that again with Seattle because the Angels bullpen just died, and I don't know what happened there in Texas, but I don't see that happening again. I think that Marlins offense is a little bit underrated. I think they don't have the names that really shock people, but they are a good, very good offense that work well together. Where Texas has some names that can really catch your attention, and I think we're getting a little bit of that. I think a little bit of the opposite here. I think we might see this creep towards your A-grade territory because I think people are going to look at what the Rangers just did and kind of lay some more money on that. But I'm still all over the Mariners here.
I hope you're right. It feels like every nickel that goes towards the Mariners, it's like here's a few more dollars from the Mariners, a few more dollars from the Mariners. So I just keep it a little bit more every time the number gets better. I do think a viewer don't click away yet. I have some interesting nuggets for you here, and I think that I want to talk about based off what you just said, which is a very important point that Anaheim, that ballpark, has become very hitter friendly. You also combine that with, again, while the Angels bullpen we talked about at the start of the show had been doing really well, they still actually project to be the third worst bullpen in baseball. So again, not to take anything away from the Rangers because they still put up those runs and bravo to them, but it's a very different situation going from playing in a very hitter-friendly ballpark with a bad bullpen for the Angels, one of the worst ones in the league. And again, I know they had been performing well, but the history suggested that this was coming, right? Versus playing the Mariners, who have a top 5 bullpen in a pitcher-friendly ballpark. First day of the is a whole different story. So I think that's really important to know. It's important to know also if you're looking at betting the Astros Angels, Astros staying on the West Coast, playing in Anaheim, again, hitter-friendly environment. So something to consider there when you're looking at going from the Astros and Mariners putting up some runs there this weekend was a little bit surprising the first 2 games of the series. The third game didn't have very many runs, but now crisscrossing those teams, just things to consider there because now you're going, one team's going from and one team's to, going from back and forth. A very hitter-friendly park, very pitcher-friendly park. So things to consider here for these series. And like you said, it's impressive what the Rangers did, but yeah, it's not going to be that easy here coming up on Monday night.
No, for sure.
Last thing here I want to mention, A-plus play of the day that you can get on Discord. 10 wins out of the last 11 days. That's it. Period. 10 wins in the last 11 days. I'm pretty sure last year, I started to play the day last year in baseball season, and I'm pretty sure there were a couple of stretches like this. And it's just it's under $1 a day, folks, at Dub Club. If you're not there with us, playing the A grade plays, getting all that info, and nothing else to say other than just I'm gonna let the record speak for itself.
Yeah, I mean that's what you get. Sometimes you got to step back and point at it. And going 10 out of the last 11 is just outrageous. It's hot. Time to jump in now so you can catch this hot ride.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Jake, anything else for the viewer?
No, I just really got to get a hold of whoever's scheduling baseball and get some day games here. Like this is miserable.
Yeah, I feel like we're missing an opportunity. At least early on, at least now it's more understandable. When school gets out, we really are missing an opportunity to. I mean, part of the push, and I totally get it. Part of the push has been making the game faster and more enjoyable. I love it. I love the changes. I love a faster game. I don't like, kids can see more of it, but day games is where kids see games a lot of times. And that would be a great way, especially once school lets out here in the next few weeks for different people, depending on where you're in the country. We really need more day games, but whatever. Maybe when we rule the world one day, we'll figure this out.
One day. It's coming.
All right. It's coming. All right. That's all we got then. Thanks for tuning in this episode of Picks with the Professor. Don't forget to subscribe so you can ensure the sports betting content provided on this channel dropped right into your feed. Be back again tomorrow with more baseball betting content. Until then, as always, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.